Man,
Hello.
look at how much hair Rob grew overnight.
Hey, I'm a little bit better looking than he is too. Check that out.
He'll watch this.
He was like, one day he was bald, one day he wasn't. There you go.
Right.
Amazing difference a week makes.
Yeah. Must be Rogaine.
Oh, you guys.
Well, we got to say big welcome to Chris on the podcast. He's been on here. You're not that new.
It's been a long time, but yes, I think I have once before.
It's been a while.
I did so good. I got the invite to come back immediately and often.
Yeah. We left some time in between the last invite just to make sure Chris didn't go to his head too much, you know.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh man, so we're back. Rob is in another country doing some stuff with the high school. And
He's in London today.
He's what?
Yeah, no haggis.
In London.
Man. And we're in Irmo.
He has stopped sending pictures of haggis to the staff text change.
Haggis is a food, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Did he buy a kilt?
Oh, I haven't heard. I bet he did.
He threatened he was going to buy a kilt.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Why not? I mean, he should wear it when he comes back. We had Ray was in, you know.
Wait, the difference between what I wore and a kilt leaves your knees and the rest of your legs exposed. What I had on, you ain't see no skin.
Listen, Ray, sky's out, thighs out, baby.
Welcome to Second Take at Eastlake, a podcast of Eastlake Community Church in Irmo, South Carolina. You are invited to join us any Sunday at 9 or 11.
Oh,
let it roll.
Lord.
If it's a dress, it's a dress. You know what, though? Whatever.
That's the dress. No, that's not.
All right. So for fun, just because we have Chris on here, I thought this would be fun to play a game.
Rap battle?
It's time for a game. All right. So here's the deal.
Oh, dear.
Just a few Googles away. And just like that, I am going to bring in to you guys the greatest game. It's going to be trivia. I'm pulling up the questions right now if I look distracted. All right. So what we're going to do, because we don't want any cheating. I mean, Chris is one of our elders. So technically, if you guys act poorly, he could reprimand you properly. So Michelle, pull it together.
I'll try to keep it together. Yeah.
I'm not worried about Ray, but Michelle, she does have a dark side, guys. She does. Watch out. All right. I mean, yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'll stop there.
That's good.
Right. That's good. So questions are going to be a little bit difficult. Some are going to be easy. This is going to be pop culture. Who is known to have founded Apple?
Steve Jobs.
Oh, Ray! That's so crazy. You don't even use Apple products. Michelle, where were you at?
No, at first I went Bill Gates. I'm like, no, that's not right.
No. Chris, did you almost know it?
It was in there somewhere. It was caught somewhere between my brain and my mouth.
All right, that's number one. Number one question. Ray is definitely winning, making it look easy.
Oh, wait. We're playing for like a prize or something? This is a competition?
You know what? We're gonna play for a day on the lake at Buck's Trucks.
Then I can't lose. Is that what you're saying?
You're a guest, Chris. We're gonna go easy on you. We will be real hard on Michelle and Ray, but we'll go easy on you. We'll go easy. But maybe there should be a prize. I don't know. We'll think about it as it goes. All right. Next question. This one I did not know. Who is the most followed person on Instagram?
I'm going to go with Elon Musk.
Ooh, that is a good
Good
that is a
guess.
good answer. It's not the right answer, but that is a good one. There's no way you guys will get this.
Yeah, I have
Taylor
no
Swift.
idea. Taylor Swift.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
No.
Oh,
And who is that?
you guys not know? Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Soccer player.
Oh,
Portugal.
see, that's very American of us to not have known that. Interesting. Okay. All right. Which planet is closest to the Earth?
Mars.
Mercury.
I have
Oh, wait,
no
wait. To
clue.
the Earth or to the Sun?
To the
To the
Earth.
Earth.
Oh, Ray might have that one.
Yeah, I would go with Mars.
Either that or Venus. I'll go with Venus just to be the right one.
It's Venus.
Oh, right,
Chris.
We're going head to head. Elder
All right.
and a lead pastor. Man, this is getting intense.
Pastor. Yeah, I'm not. I need to start hosting because I'm not good at these things. We should make
Oh, yeah.
Philip answer the
Michelle,
questions.
no
Yeah.
way, Michelle. You're catching on to my tactics.
I know.
This
I
is
get
totally
it.
what I'm doing this on purpose.
It's
You
because you're a
guys keep-
control freak.
You guys keep coming back. Of course, Rob's gone technically. All right, here we go. Another one. Arachnophobia is the fear of what?
Spiders.
Okay, Ray got it. Michelle, a little slow on the uptake. All right, Ray 2, Chris 1. Michelle,
I
if
know.
it was 70s biker music, Michelle would be winning, but here we go.
Maybe.
Okay, what is the name? This is definitely pop culture. I would not know this. What is the name of Kim Kardashian's eldest child?
Chloe?
Kim Kardashian's eldest child. This is a wild name.
Chloe must be a sister.
I think that's a sister.
Yeah, Chloe's a sister. I can see the child, but I can't tell you her
I
name.
cannot see the child.
Okay, the name is Northwest. We were
North.
gonna,
Yes.
yeah, it was
'Cause
gonna be
she's-
Spencer or Northwest when we had our first kid. We couldn't decide.
Right.
Well, since you weren't married to Kane West, West is probably out for you.
Oh
so
yeah. Oh, Kanye
North would have been
West.
okay.
You mean
Or
Kanye, West?
West. Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
You can tell.
Michelle.
I'm really up on pop culture.
Kanye West, look at Ray. Ray is not gonna let his friends watch this podcast.
I don't blame them. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Bible nerds fail at pop culture.
Okay, we're
yeah.
gonna do one more. Okay. Well, let's do two more because I can't help it.
dear.
Which is the most sensitive of all the senses?
Smell.
say your eyesight.
Well, I'm going to say taste since Ray said smell. I was going to say smell, but I'll take taste.
Guys, Ray's taking this. It's smell. See, all those books he reads. I mean, guys, he reads a lot of books. He was
I mean,
busted.
To be
Busted.
fair, he had a 1 in 5 chance. It was a good guess.
It was. Chris doesn't like to lose too. I know that about Chris.
He does it.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
I, on the other hand, could care less.
If I was playing, I would care. Okay, one more, just because I love this one. How many days are in a leap year?
364.
366.
Oh, yes, because there's an extra day. Never mind.
It's a 3. So Michelle is about to
Yeah.
graduate with her
master's,
and
yeah.
we're sending her back.
Fair
Definitely,
enough.
we're
Yeah.
sending her back. Michelle, we think
Yeah.
you need to be a doctor.
be
Maybe
fair-
that'll help.
Probably no math courses in that master's.
Yeah, there probably aren't. Yeah.
Right.
Yep,
So,
there are 366 days. Ray got
yeah,
it
that makes
first.
sense.
Chris
Yeah, because
did
there's an extra
after some-
day.
Oh, did
Not
Ray get it
shorter a day.
first?
He did. He did.
Okay.
We're gonna have
Oh
to.
Watch it
my.
later.
We're gonna have
Somehow
to
I
do
missed it.
something to humble Ray. Oh my gosh! Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew this, but me and Ray's birthday month is coming up. Word
I
on the
think next
street.
week you should play Fear Factor and do something with water or bugs or something. He would love that.
That would be where we would get him.
Good point.
No fair.
Yeah,
No.
I like it. I like it. All
Yeah, we
right,
all have our
everybody.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get us to this Sunday sermon. Get to some of the good stuff. Oh yeah, that stuff. Look at this stuff Ray's shaking. Show our people if you can see this if you're watching online.
Did you eat that in India, Chris?
Oh, are those the Indian mints?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did you think of them?
I tried them.
Okay.
He's gonna be nice. See, Chris is nice. He's
Yeah.
too friendly. I told Ray it tasted like when my mom put a bar of soap in my mouth after I said a foul word in elementary. It took me right back. Dove soap. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
all right, let me get us to the point here because we have some good stuff. This last Sunday was Easter Sunday. We did a community Good Friday service. Just off the top of your head, because we will get to Easter, but what was your favorite part of Good Friday? What did you enjoy about it? I think all of you guys were able to be there.
I enjoyed the energy in the room. It was very anticipatory. I think this was like the first Good Friday service since the pandemic that room has felt full, and everybody that came ready to worship. So while they may not have known exactly what that looked like for some people, because it was their first Good Friday service as a community, and for other people that had been a part of this, these happenings for several years now, kind of came with an expectation too. So just the energy in the room was good.
That was cool. Yeah, I agree. What about you guys? Anything stand out that you just really enjoyed or that was reflective or?
I loved the song that you and Michaela participated in with the worship leader from Gateway.
Oh yeah, she was actually from
and
Crossroads.
She was from Crossroads. Okay.
Trish.
So I really enjoyed that song on two levels. I love that song. I think it's beautiful, and Michaela does a good job, and I love hearing her sing in Spanish. But there was almost like an audible gasp around me when she started singing in Spanish, and not in a negative way, like in a isn't that beautiful positive way. Like you could tell that there were people that were being exposed to something different culturally than they were used to, and they were enjoying that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. I didn't know that. Wow.
Kayla killed it.
Yeah,
she did. She did.
Yeah. Did you have anything, Chris?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the worship. It was cool to be in what felt like a worship setting with what you might call the Big C church, with people from all different churches and church experiences. I also enjoyed all the different teaching, the snippets from the different pastors and the different perspectives around the different aspects and characters around the crucifixion. I thought that was pretty well done from all our pastors. So yeah, I thought the whole thing was great. I really enjoyed the service and kind of came away filled up from it.
That's cool. I thought it was interesting too that I don't know if you guys saw this relation, but maybe I'm really deep. I'm so deep, guys. I'm very introspective person. But it was interesting that day, the Good Friday day, was very rainy and cold and dark. And there was like a cold front that blew in. I was outside when it happened, and I couldn't help but think, man, this kind of mimics the way I imagine the crucifixion being when it talks about it, darkness. And then Saturday, it was still dark, gloomy, rainy, and then Sunday morning, about the time I'm driving, I'm getting out the hoses to get the baptistry ready for a baptism, and here comes the sun. And I was like, look at this. It's just kind of interesting. Maybe I'm just really deep, been looking really far into it, but I thought that was fun. And the Good Friday service for me, I felt like I was probably a little embarrassing because I was so excited to show our team to the other teams. So in our rehearsal and stuff like that, I was just a little giddy. I was like a dad, and I was bragging about our team and stuff. And I was like, okay, I better quit. It's getting awkward. But I just think it's fun to get to show, other people, the people that are your friends, and let everybody meet. Because I knew some of the other team members, but they hadn't met some of. Oh, and another favorite part, real quick, before we move to Easter, is when we were rehearsing. Derek was like trying to tell everybody, like, okay, I'll do the bridge and then I'll do this. And he was playing along with everybody. And I said, listen, guys, Derek in the moment is going to do what Derek's going to do. We need to just follow Derek and just be ready for it. I was like, don't try to tell me, Derek, that you're going to just do or we don't want you to. And so it came time, the service is going on, and I was watching Derek because I was like, all right, let's see where he goes. And Derek said the bridge at the very end, and I turned and I told everybody in the band, I said, to the bridge. And the band goes, whoop. And Derek goes, your goodness is running. And then he backed off too. But we all laughed. All of the music people laughed at the end because we were like, I told you. And they're like, you weren't kidding. I was like, nope. Little inside fun stuff. But okay, so Good Friday, that was awesome. Let's talk about Easter. We can talk about the message and the scripture and just kind of do you have a title for this sermon, Ray? Would it be? You do, don't
The
you?
title was What He Risen. What He is Risen. That was the title.
That was the title. I like that. Really, because it was telling the story about these disciples who basically knew what was going to happen, but were almost in a way acting as though it hadn't happened because it didn't happen the way they envisioned that it would happen. And Jesus appearing to them, and them not even realizing it. And so let's discuss that a little bit. I mean, that was basically it. And then your closing was to know, live, and share. Right. And so, but let's start off with this. So we just talked about Good Friday, grief, the idea that the person that you've dedicated your entire life to has just been crucified. If you can put yourself in those shoes, you've been following him. He's been amazing you with all the miracles, with wisdom, with insight, with guidance from God, from the Spirit, all these things. And then just like that, it's gone. I mean, the closest I can think that I have felt to that is there's been seasons in my life that I'm like, everything is firing on all cylinders. Everything's amazing. Don't change anything. I'm having so much fun. This is awesome. And then one day it ends and I enter into a new season and I grieve that. But I'm just kind of basically wanting to get us to this point of grief. So how do we respond to grief? How do you respond to grief? How did the disciples respond to grief as they were on their way? And anybody can go first, but did it make you guys think about grief, or is that just me?
I think the way that they responded, and I may have come off as sounding a little hard on them, but I think it's normative. When the way you frame it, Philip, that somebody you devoted your life to, and it was their teaching and just their presence. When that is removed, there is this cloud of confusion. Because for the person that's left behind, I mean, I've lost a parent, so I can speak from that you're like, so what now? And while you start to reflect on all the things that they may have taught you, there's this period, that you're actually paralyzed, not knowing what to do next. And so you end up doing things just out of wanting not to sit still. So, I mean, we especially in the last few years, we've walked several people through grief of the loss of a loved one. And you got to figure out what your next steps are. You know, the beautiful thing in this story is that there were a group of people that actually just sat still. I'm not saying they didn't do anything. They didn't leave Jerusalem, but these two travelers left. And so they felt the need to do something, and their something was, might as well head home because it's over.
Yeah, is that what you do with grief? It is interesting to think about that. I've been through a couple hard family member passings. Kristen's grandmother was one. We were really close. My mom was another. And one of the things that I've pondered after the process is the process, at least the American process of funerals and arrangements and burials. And it is a go, 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 go. So somebody you love has just passed. And it's basically as fast as you can, you have to move to plan a service, communicate to other loved ones, respond to incoming messages. It's just a go, and then it's over, and you're like, what just happened? Did I even get a chance? Actually, when I went back for my mom's burial of her ashes, that was when I broke down. That was actually the time that I broke down, because I wasn't doing anything. I was just coming to remember and honor my mom. Whereas at the funeral, I was singing songs, I was making programs, I was calling family members, I was answering phone calls, I was helping other people grieve. Anyway, so yeah, that's an interesting point, right? It's like, how do you handle things when they get disrupted, when you lose somebody or you grieve? Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
I think it's a valuable question. I think because there was such a short period of time from the crucifixion to the resurrection, and you had Sabbath that was a huge chunk of that time, you don't really get much of a sense of it. But I do agree with the question. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. You know, you guys have dealt with people in your family that have passed. And while I haven't had that, I had somebody close to me that was a mentor a long time ago that I found out was actually a liar and a fraud and just got taken advantage of in a number of ways. And that was pretty shocking and took a long time to grieve through, being angry, being disillusioned, the impact of that causing distrust down the road in other potential mentoring type situations. And so the impact of that and the grief of that was long reaching. But I think it is valuable to stop and look at some of these guys and go, I wonder how much the grief of their situation, and it even says they were discouraged in the passage. But I think that played an important role in where we see some of these different people.
Yeah.
And, I think they still had to be shell shocked in the stages of grief of actual shock, because there's the beginning of it. It's surreal because you can't get your arms around the fact that this person or this circumstance, whatever it is that you're grieving, that it has changed. Which is probably why some of the responses from those two disciples, like, are you the only one that hasn't heard about this? I mean, it is so huge in their life, and they are totally shocked that this happened because it's totally outside their expectations. And so I don't think they were very far into their grief, but I think, running or walking or whatever they were doing, but, taking a good long walk, when you're trying to sort through what just happened, I think that's probably a valuable thing. But I agree with what you've all said about busyness. I think both Ray and Philip said that, and sometimes people stay busy until they can't stay busy anymore. And they stay busy to try to get away from the uncomfortable feelings. And the truth is, if you don't grieve, then it's going to pop up into something else later, you know, so it's going to come out somewhere. And unfortunately, it may not be the most healthy way. So when I have tried to ignore difficult circumstances in my life and not taken the time to address those appropriately, then they create feelings in me that come out at other times and circumstances.
So true. So to me, you know, this is just me as a listener and an enjoyer of the sermon. And the second thing that I thought about after the grief that I noticed was they knew he told them this was going to happen. He told them this was going to happen. So it's like, yeah, three times. So it's like, why were they so shocked? And I thought this would be a really good discussion for us, because I think a lot of times we do this, people that we love do this, where God isn't doing what we think God should do. This isn't the way I envisioned it. This isn't, okay, I get it. This is what's going to happen. Great. But we're not ready for the pain that might go with it or whatever. So I don't know. Do you guys, is there any time that you can think you can answer this however you want, or you can freestyle off this topic, obviously, but I would be curious if there's been something in your life that God told you was going to happen, but it happened completely different than the way you expected it. Because I feel like that's the story of my life. And it might be too personal to be able to share a story like that, but you know, if you have any insight into that, I mean, I can start too while you guys kind of process, because there's one on the top of my head. And that is, if you would have asked me 5 years ago what I would have been doing, I would have never, ever, ever guessed that I would be in the South leading worship for a church, like ever, a multicultural church, much less. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, that wasn't even on my radar. Like, what? That wasn't even in my vocabulary to know, to say yes or no to, you know. And if I would have, so God, you know, God had a clear call on my life to be leading people and to be mentoring people, to be leading worship. I would have thought, if you would have asked me 5 years, oh, he's probably going to have me mentoring and leading other worship leaders here at my church, and we're going to build up a team of worshipers. And, you know, I probably would have had like a whole paragraph written on what I think God's going to do. Little did I know he would bring me all the way across the country. And now he is actually having me mentor other worship leaders, but it's in a completely different place and in a completely different capacity. Wild. It's wilder to me because I know where my head was at 5 years ago. You guys just see this version of me, but my head was completely different back then.
2016, 2017, I'm ending missions in the village of Katsakera, and the Lord is telling me, you won't be coming back here. And so my ask, because how we ended up in Katsakera was completely the Lord. And so I'm seeking him regarding, okay, Lord, so is there somewhere else in the world you want me to go? And he shows me Mongolia and India. Well, Mongolia would have been an easier jump just because I had a couple of Mongolian students going to the local university that had already told me, you will love our country because the climate and the people are communal and you would fit right in. So I was like, yay. But the Lord was like, no, India. India is where you will go next. So I went to my missions board and they were like, there's no way we're sending anyone to India. It's unsafe. There's persecution. It's no. And so that muted it. Now, this is 2017. It would be in 2019, after the previous missions guy is on his way out the door, that I get a phone call from a guy that heads operations for India that was directed to call Eastlake and me specifically to ask, is anybody interested in Eastlake going to India? And I knew, I didn't know how it was going to work out. I trusted that God was going to get me there somehow, but I never thought it would take me leaving St. Louis, ending up at a church in South Carolina, nonetheless, and then he would backdoor get me an invitation to go to India. Yeah, I didn't, never saw that coming.
Never saw that coming. Yeah. I would even argue that almost every time God puts something on my heart, he does it in a way that is not how I thought it was going to play out. I don't know if it's ever been the way I thought it was going to play out. I can't think of a single incident. I'll go with another one if you guys want me to. Should I?
Sure.
Another story? Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I will. I'm probably talking too much, but when we were young and had Spencer in our house, he was about 3, and we felt like God was moving us to have more kids. It's like, we're gonna have a family. This like never even a question. It was just like always a thing that both me and Kristen felt like God wanted us to do. Well, couldn't have kids. Nobody knows why. We've gone to all the doctors. Everything's going on. They're like, we don't know. You shouldn't. Everything should be good. Never had kids, and we kept going through all these expensive processes. We're like, okay, God, you've called us to do this. You've called us to do this. We looked at adopting. It was way too expensive, and I was like, I'm not gonna fundraise. That wasn't what I felt like I was called to do. And so all this stuff dead ends for years, for 3 years. One day we're at Disneyland with Spencer, both of us holding a hand because he's so big. He's 5 now, going through Disney. And it was like a light bulb. God said, I didn't want you to adopt infant. I wanted you to adopt kids. He never said infant. And we were like, we don't even want an infant. That sounds horrible. We're out of diapers. We have moved on. Like, that sounds like a horrible idea, you know. But at that point, it was like, and then as soon as we got home, we called and just made some phone calls and looked into it. And turns out there was a massive amount of children that needed to be fostered and adopted that were not infants. And immediately God worked out the rest. And it's not always been easy, because no kid is easy. It's not because we adopted. No kid is easy. But it has been the right thing, and it's been a blessing. And so I would have never guessed that. But God had to have years to work on us.
Yep.
Yeah. Any more? Or I can move on.
Go ahead, Chris, because I feel like I've told these stories 100 times about my different ones, but yeah.
Well, okay. So the situation I referred to earlier, and you know, God works best sometimes in our lives through suffering. I mean, we say that it's never fun, it's never easy. We want God to work in our lives, but we just don't want the suffering part sometimes. But that was how he did it back then for us, and really taught us some fundamental lessons about wealth and generosity, and that he owns it all, and that's ours to steward. And to steward well. And that set us on a course and really a direction with some of those fundamental lessons that continue to pay dividends today. And relationally, we've seen him redeem some relationships 20 years later that started way back with that situation, that I won't get into details on, but it is. So yeah, I mean, you can think about, well, this is how God's going to work, or I can see this or I can see that, but we have no idea. I mean, I love getting to the backside of it and going, wow, there was so much more going on that I had no idea that was going on. So it's pretty cool living in the kingdom sometimes, and those are some of the times, right? Yeah,
that's
the suffering part's not. Yeah, the suffering part's not so fun, but when you get to look back on the other side, I mean, I think that's one of the joys of the Christian walk, is that Everybody has suffering. I mean, it's just part of the human condition, and we don't get out of that as believers. We still suffer, but God uses that in a way that, and he doesn't do that, he can't do that for people who aren't following him. But if we will do what he says in the circumstances we're in, he does eventually work those things for good. Sometimes it takes a long time, but he's in it.
And his word reassures us that, like a parent disciplining a child, we are to have joy in that. It is reassuring to be disciplined by a good and loving father parent,
I got this quote I gotta read to y'all because of what you all have just said. It says, this is from Willie James Jennings. What a name, Willie James Jennings.
Why can't that be my name? Philip Oswald.
Listen, God rightly invades our comfort when he says that we like the unity of the earliest believers until we realize their unity involved incarcerations and whippings.
Yeah. Not excited about that stuff.
We want that Acts 2 church, but boy, we don't want to get locked up or beat to get it.
Yeah.
No, I was talking to a young person in my life who was saying that they're going through a period of time where people have said things about them that aren't accurate. And this person was relating to me that they feel like God has said, and you're not allowed to answer back. And that is really hard. And I told them it's consistent with what I have seen God tell other people. So whatever it is that he's doing, it will eventually, if you have a good character and you keep walking in that character, eventually you'll be exonerated. And more than likely, I mean, it's not a promise, but sometimes we just have to be quiet and suffer well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Jesus did. He could have done a lot of things that he did not do. I mean, and he also could have snapped his fingers and just made the world roses and and whatever. But instead, he allows this plan to roll out that builds us and grows us. What's interesting too is the older I'm getting, which is not very old, by the way, but the older we probably all get, the more life trouble that we've been through, which actually makes us stronger. The more struggle we've had actually gives us more strength for the future. I mean, I was just on a conversation this morning with somebody who was struggling about something that in my mind was just really small. I mean, this is not a big deal. It's going to be okay. Everybody just calm down. And then I got to thinking, wait a minute, there's just not as many struggles in this person's journey, which is not pride. I'm not saying that pridefully on my side. I'm just saying it as a reality that time and age will bring you more struggles, which will give you more faith for future troubles, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, when my kids were growing up, they would get very frustrated when one of their friends was complaining about their life. Because their parents were divorced, we moved, way away from all that they knew and family, and so they would feel like they don't have problems. I've got problems. And I used to always tell the kids, your biggest problem is your biggest problem, and their biggest problem is their biggest problem. And it feels just as big to them as it does to you. And I'm glad to say that seems to have stuck with them. And, so now I hear them parroting that to other people or back. But it's true, your experience, we don't all have the same life. And everyone has trials, but there are different depths of trials. And so if you get into a comparison game of, my suffering is the worst suffering, that's not helpful. Just not helpful.
It's not. I needed to learn that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But it's cool that God does that with us. He meets us where we're at. When we say things like
does.
that, that's what we mean. He meets us where we're at. And if there's something that's a big deal to you, it's a big deal to him, and he's there to walk with you through it. And that's a powerful thing to realize. There was a moment that, Ray, you said you wanted to talk about on this podcast about the two travelers and their disobedience. You said that they shouldn't have even left. What did you want to say, Ray?
Okay, so here's the thing. Number one, there's a culture in Near Eastern culture that says when someone dies, that if you're close to the family, so for instance, if someone in my family should die, and if we lived in the Middle East, the hope would be that those of you that are my friends would hang around long enough to make sure that I'm okay, that I have everything that I need, that I'm able to move on. And that could take anywhere from 7 days to 14 days. You would be invested enough in my life that you stay around. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that these two travelers had informed, we know, Jesus. They had informed Jesus that others had told them, the women that were at the tomb that morning had told them that he was not there, that he had risen. Okay, so that's the other thing. Well, they also disclosed that, hey, it's the third day already, Jesus. And well, they didn't say Jesus because they didn't know it was him, but it's already been the third day, which tells us that they knew something was supposed to be up. So I said that they were being disobedient, when that was more implied because of all those things. They were disciples. They should have stayed. They didn't disobey directly. They did it indirectly by just going back home. Because if it was true that he actually had risen from the grave, they should have been together with the others to celebrate and to await him reappearing. But they didn't. And that's the beauty of the scriptures, that it shows real people wrestling with real issues.
In different ways.
So, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
and Jesus did tell the disciples later, don't leave the city, await for the arrival of the Holy Spirit, but he hadn't said that yet. And so somebody that heard the message might have been confused by that, but that wasn't what you were saying at all.
Yeah. It's a good point. And there,
you know what? You guys just said something. I don't know if you caught it. It was good for me to just sit and listen to you. Philip, you said Jesus will meet you right where you're at. That's exactly what he did. He met the two travelers right where they were at and walked with them for 7 miles, unpacking all of the things that they had already heard before. He was just reminding them of all the things.
Yeah. Well, that should bring a lot of comfort to all of us, because, you know, we want to do a good job exegeting the text, discipling people in our interactions with people. But at the end of the day, Jesus has to meet them where they're at. And so even if we could do it all right, if they're not available for the Savior to meet them, then it's not going to matter what we did right or wrong. And so we have to be faithful in carrying out what we do, but we really have to not carry too big of a burden, because that burden ultimately has to be on Christ to find them where he knows they'll respond to him.
Good points. Yeah. Agreed.
You know, that is kind of fascinating. You wonder if the whole point, one of the main points of that whole interaction was just that. Because if you look, and I don't know if we spent a lot of time talking about this, but they were prevented from recognizing Jesus. It's like God said, nah, I'm going to cloud this right now so that they don't recognize him. And they got to spend all that time together. He pretends like he's going on, you know, that whole thing. And then they're having the meal together. And then God opens their eyes and they see him, and then poof, he's gone. Right? But don't you wonder if that wasn't kind of the whole point, to have a visible and witnessed, documented situation where he met them right at their point of need and walked through all of that with them? I mean, obviously there's more in terms of the explanations, and the whole scripture was about him, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thought.
Needed to be reminded and reassured, and that's what he did.
It's interesting that two of the moments where truth was revealed, it was done through unexpected persons. Like it was through this person, it was through Jesus, but he clouded their judgment, was the first one. The other was the women that nobody, from my perspective, they didn't want to hear it. They didn't believe it. And maybe I'm making this up, but because it was women, I feel like and this is me saying, I feel like, I have to say, I wonder if it would have been men, if they would have heard it. And I wonder if they would have seen Jesus as Jesus, if they would have received. It's just interesting that in both of those scenarios, it was not who they thought, it just wasn't the way they thought it would have been. And so they were clouded by that. I don't know. And so, you know, it also, another thing that's really growing me in my that I'm growing in my faith is learning to see God, not just where I think I'm going to see God, but to be open to him teaching me through things that I would never expect him to teach me through. I mean, and it can be something as remedial as a lot of people wouldn't think they can learn from their kids. Well, my kids teach me a lot. You know, it teaches me a lot about myself and things like that. Like a lot of times we write things off and we say, well, this isn't a person of influence in my life, but what if God is trying to influence you through that person, I guess.
Yeah. That's interesting. Go ahead, Michelle. That's interesting.
It is. I was just going to say, it kind of goes back to grief. I think sometimes when we're in a hard situation or we're suffering, you know, we ask the wrong questions when we could be asking, okay, Lord, where are you in this? What is it that you're doing, and what can I learn while I'm in it? Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Ray?
I was going to say, I mean, the fact that they were told by the women that they knew, and they still didn't believe it. What if it had been Peter who told them that he went to the tomb, because they said that he went to the tomb? Well, you know what? It answers this, because it says the other disciple and the one with him ran to the tomb, and they didn't find him either.
That's true.
So they didn't believe the women, and they didn't believe the testimony of Peter. Which to me says they must have been in deep grief and disbelief.
Yeah, but aren't there always those moments in our life that will try us, to really try us and see, do you really believe the things you say you believe? I mean, that happens to me sometimes. Hey, let's just see if you really believe the things you say you believe. And that, it kind of sounds like that kind of moment, you know? I don't know. Some of this we're kind of speculating.
In India.
What's that?
We had to, our faith was tested. Going to India?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When they tell you, hey, you might get split up, this might happen. Okay, so either we're going to go to our fear and say, you know what, I don't want to take that type of risk.
Yeah.
And so we get on a plane for several hours, and we get to the country, and what happens, Chris, at the airport? We get split up. And certain people have made it through customs, and other people held back.
Yeah.
So God's like, oh, so you actually believe that you're gonna be okay? Okay, we're gonna see how this gonna work.
and you feel like you've been called to go, like God has wanted you to be there. So you're gonna have to trust in me that I know what I'm doing in having you here. Yeah. That stuff seems to happen to me all the time. Yeah. It's
It's
interesting.
interesting, but there are some times where it's a testing of faith, and I absolutely believe that that's accurate and that happens, and God provides those opportunities and wants us to choose the right path and step into that, and that's a faith builder or an increaser. I think evil also lays traps and snares, and it will come back at us in the areas where we have failed previously, because those are like your weakest points, and it will just continue to do that. So I think both of those things can be true.
Mm,
Mm.
yep. I agree. That's good. Did you guys have any final thoughts before we close up this podcast that you wanted to say coming off of Easter?
It's never too late. It's never too late.
Yep.
Remember, when it became apparent to them that it really was Jesus that was with them, they didn't wait till the next day to go back to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
It says that very instant they got up and went back to tell all the others. So the moment that it becomes apparent to you, when Jesus reveals himself to you, you don't need to wait. You can go that very moment. You can confess to him. You can trust in him. You can go tell those who he may have told you to tell. You don't have to wait.
Mm-hmm. So great.
It's like the
Yeah.
words to the song you sung. If I'm not dead,
He's
then
not
you're
done.
not done.
Oh, I believe. Yeah. That's
See,
good.
Ray, you wanted to talk about when helping hurts.
Yes. We start that this Sunday. And the soon to be graduate is kicking it off.
Oh.
So that's one of our, We're Helping Hurts is one of the 3 core curriculums here at Eastlake. And not just because you sit through the sermon series means that you've checked some proverbial box. No, no, no. We want you to engage the opportunity to even be in a small group, or as a small group go through the experience of working through the actual tenets of when helping hurts. And so if this is not something that your small group has done, by all means, see Pastor Michelle, and she can give you direction as to how to engage the actual small group material. And please don't think I'm talking about the material that is on YouVersion when you go on there on Sunday. No, no, no. It's far more in depth than that. And so this will be a great opportunity for you to get the tools that we have gotten from the studies to give to each of you, so that as you engage opportunities to serve in your community, whether that's in your subdivision or school or city or whatever, that you could have these tools so that you can help without hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really excited because Stacy Keller who is a partner at Eastlake, and who is one of our partners because of her job with Lutheran Services. And so she is going to lead the kickoff and the wrap up, and she's going to lead a group of people who are not currently in a group. Or if we have more than, more people sign up than for one group, then we'll have multiple groups. But she and I had lunch today, and we were talking about her experience and some stories that she might share along the way about what she's learned about helping without hurting. And she talked about when we had the Afghan refugee crisis, really the stress of that showed her, the Lord used that to reveal some areas where she maybe had wrong expectations. And so I think she is a person that we can really learn from when we're talking about serving people without hurting them. She has a load of experience. And so I am so excited that she's going to share Sunday evening in the small group kicking off. So you can sign up for that at eastlakeonline.com. And you can even sign up Sunday. But sign up as soon as possible so we can get you a link to get your materials. And I'm really stoked about it.
That's cool. And
Chris, is there a retreat coming up?
Is there a retreat coming up?
Yeah.
I think there might be, Ray. You probably have the dates in front of you. I think there's a men's retreat, isn't there?
it
May
is.
11th through the 13th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the website. If you're a man and you're listening to this, or if you're a wife that wants your man out of the house, just go and sign them up on the website. EastLakeOnline.com events, men's retreat 2023, get them out the house.
So it is the weekend of Mother's Day, but as far as I understand it, Mother's Day is only a day. It's not like a whole weekend or a preceding week. So you can still get to the retreat and get home and honor your wife or your mother for Mother's Day. So don't fall for that trap.
Watch your tires, Chris. Watch your tires.
Watch your tires.
There might be some moms out there.
Mother's Day is not like Ray's birthday. It is not a month long.
Phillips.
And Phillips.
Phillips.
Mhm.
Oh, I've never heard that. I thought it was my birthday. I'm feeling pretty birthday-ish right now in April. I can already feel it coming on. I can feel it warming up.
Is your birthday like in July, Philip?
It's in May, but it feels real close.
Okay. I thought we had a 3-month buildup.
I've heard that we're gonna try to get me and Ray and Laura's faces on a birthday cake, and I sure hope it can happen. I will cherish that cake. I will frame it. I will.
No, you'll eat it. You
I'll
love
eat it.
cake.
I'll eat it. Yeah. All right, guys. So that's it. We'll see you later. Signing off. Bye.
Bye.
Eastlake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for, here, near, and far.